Ask most people the best decade to be a kid, and most of them will have a probably clear and defined answer. The baby boomers will almost definitely say the 70s. There was freedom in being a kid in that decade, coming and going as you please. Some of the most iconic bands in music ever conceived landed in that decade. It's considered the golden age of quote unquote new Hollywood, with a revolution taking place, and many of the greatest films ever made were produced in the 70s. My dad is in his 60s, and he'll likely claim this decade is his favorite just for Kiss and Star Wars alone. Gen X will likely say the 80s. They came of age in that decade and they were fully invested in the widely varied music scenes, the wave of teen movies aimed directly at their demographic, illustrating their own lives on screen. Maybe they were into the excellent cartoons if they were young enough, and they were all absolutely into the video games. Arcades were king, and the mall was the place to hang out. Cruising the mall parking lot was the thing to do when it closed. Younger millennials may say the 90s. Wild new countercultures like grunge and skateboarding took hold. Home video game consoles brought wild new graphics and gameplay with each new iteration, and while there was a lot of social revolutions taking place, there was also a sense of hope and optimism that we were headed in the right direction. And then there's me. I was born in 1983. I was alert enough in the 80s to have excellent, vivid memories of being a kid in that decade. I was super into Transformers and Thundercats and later Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Nintendo. I remember watching the news for things like the Berlin Wall coming down and being just old enough to understand the significance of the things I was seeing. I was ages 6 through 17 in the 1990s. I saw firsthand the release of every video game console from the Super Nintendo to the Sega Dreamcast. I spent countless Saturdays in a movie theater experiencing the renaissance of Disney animated features. I bore witness to home computers being a thing that only rich people on TV in the 80s owned, to having one in my own home and playing games on it on a daily basis. The Friday night ritual of going to the video store after school and going home and ordering Pizza Hut and watching TGIF on ABC was sacred. And I was a teenager in the early 2000s. I saw the internet revolution take place. I joined in playing Quake Online death matches starting in 1996, and I watched as online gaming became the undisputed standard. I remember the summer that Diablo 2 was released. I saw and contributed to the internet growing from a quirky, silly place for nerds to spread rumors about Laura Croft nude codes and playing MUDs on bulletin boards, that's multi user dimensions for you younger folks, to a place where nerds would spread rumors about Sonic the Hedgehog being in Smash Bros. And playing with millions of other people in MMORPGs. And I've got this weird, unfocused longing for all of it, which continues to intensify as I get older. The etymology of the word nostalgia, the history of the word itself, tells us that it comes from the Greek terms nostos and algos, the former meaning homecoming or sometimes to escape or return back home, the latter strongly suggesting pain or grief. So nostalgia is basically the painful wanting to escape back home, and that actually makes a ton of sense to me. But what if you're 42 years old and you don't have a singularly defined home, so to speak, to escape back to? I count myself very lucky to have been a kid in the 1980s, 1990s, and 2000s. They were absolutely remarkable decades to be alive, come of age, and grow into awareness, but there was also so much change in those decades, and such an even split between analog and digital from the time I was born until I turned 18, that there's not really one specific area in that time frame for me to latch onto. I'm constantly grasping at aspects of all three at any given time. And I think it's the same for many elder millennials, as people like to call us, but we are loath to call ourselves. I think we all struggle with a sense of identity because our childhoods, though amazing, were filled with such constant change. And I think the nostalgia that each of us feel is especially intense and painful because there's no one specific focus for it. It's a constantly moving target spread out over three distinct decades. So that's what Dopamine Sunrise is all about. It's equal parts a salve for all this nostalgia constantly coursing through my veins. It's partly me piecing together what it was to be a kid in the 80s and 90s and the 2000s, and maybe fitting those pieces into some sort of an identity for a childhood that was confused but often made magical. And also, I just want to geek out with all of you, regardless of your age, about tons of old neat stuff that I still love. Maybe you'll relate to a lot of it. Maybe you'll rediscover some of it, and maybe you'll discover things for the first time. And all of that is awesome. So expect this project to be biographical at times, but Mostly just recounting the media experiences and feelings of being a kid in those 3 decades. Sometimes it'll be chronological and sometimes not. Expect me to sometimes just play an old video game every once in a while or do a retrospective on a TV show or a movie that I loved. And always, always, please feel free to leave a comment down below if something catches your eye or your own experiences lend itself to the vibe, or if there's something you'd like for me to dive into and talk about. In the meantime, tell your friends you love them, and remember to press the pause button every once in a while.